Hey, what up? Welcome to the Ostomy Guy podcast. I'm your host, Austin, the international man of ostomies. Today, we get to talk to Jacquelin. Jacquelin's going to remind me of what it was like fresh out of surgery. She's 2.5 to 3 weeks out of surgery. She just got a loop ileostomy and is willing to share her experience, where she's at, kind of what went on right before, how her prep was. And I'm eager to just kind of get a feel for her experience overall. You hear good stories, you hear bad stories, but it's more important to understand that the experiences are pretty common amongst all of us, whether it is positive or negative. So many of us have a broad experience, but very similar to each other. So I'm eager to kind of hear her story. She is a figure skater. Right now she's studying to be a sports psychologist, learning coping mechanisms and mechanics to learn to deal with anxiety. She's obviously been in the sports world on the figure skating side for a number of years. She's 26 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and let her in and we'll get to hear her story. Tell our listeners where this all kind of started for you, that everything that led up to getting your ostomy surgery here 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so actually, before I even get into like myself, I want to add that real quickly. My father, a lot of people in my family have diabetes. So my mom has Crohn's. She was diagnosed shortly after having me. My dad was diagnosed when he was early 40s with colitis. The year before I was diagnosed with Crohn's, my dad was diagnosed with colon cancer. So he had his colon taken out and he has an ostomy. So he's going on 14 years. This January for me will be 13 years since my Crohn's diagnosis. So IBD is not something we were unfamiliar with, unfortunately. Ostomy as well.
It's a family affair, man.
And my cousin actually has Crohn's as well. A few years ago, she was diagnosed with colitis, and then this year they changed the diagnosis to Crohn's. So we've got
Funny how that works sometimes.
We've got some shitty genes in the family, pun intended.
Yeah, you do.
So I was diagnosed, and I was diagnosed as mild Crohn's. It was put on just like the normal medications, non-biologic. But
Were you just having stomach pains and small stuff like that, blood and stools, or what was going on?
I had ulcers in my mouth. I had ulcers, I guess, in my colon, and inflammation and horrible pain. I lost a ton of weight. And so I remember it was December of 2007. We were on winter break in the Atlantis, and I was so sick. And as soon as we got back, my parents brought me to Children's Hospital in DC, because we're from the DC area. And like within, 10 minutes, they hooked me up to an NG tube, pumped me with the clean out. And the next day I had my colonoscopy, and they're like, "You've got Crohn's." And it was like,
fun.
14 years old. I was like, okay. A year after I was diagnosed, I came out of remission for the very first time. Same symptoms, no ulcers in my mouth, thankfully, but same inflammation, pain, losing weight. And it was like an entire summer of in and out of the hospital. They didn't realize until toward the end of the summer that I was oral steroid resistant, which was one of the reasons why steroids were not working. For the gut, I can take steroids for other reasons, just they don't work in the gut. And after fighting all summer, being like, no, I don't want to be on a biologic. No, I don't want to be on a biologic. Because 2009, I guess they were not new, but in a sense they were still kind of new, because they hadn't been out long enough to really study like long-term effects. We were like, no, I don't want to be on it. I don't want to be on it. And my third hospitalization, or right before the third hospitalization, I was talking to my mom, my doctor, and my mom was like, "It has to be your decision." And I was like, not even 16 yet. And I was like, "Oh, I'll do Remicade. Like, I'm miserable. I got to do it." So we went back into the hospital. They pumped me with Remicade. And the next day I was like, I can feel a difference. And that started my journey.
A difference that quick.
Yeah. And I'm very in tune with my body. My entire family is really in tune with our bodies. So I could feel, it was just like a little less fatigue, a little less sick feeling. Enough to know I was like, oh, okay, well, something must be working.
It's funny when that happens, because like you're so used to having the weight of different burdens, different illnesses or aches or problems, and then when some of that goes away and you're like, oh, I'm free.
Well, it's like you get so used to feeling so sick for so long, you forget what feeling good is. And even if you're not having pain, but you're like fatigued and muscle aches, you kind of think, well, that's the normal. So it wasn't even, because I'm an athlete. I've been figure skating since I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And at the time I was still competing, and I just thought skating was getting harder because I was moving up in levels, which it was, but I was getting used to the fact that I was just in pain all the time everywhere.
Right.
And so I was just like, okay, well, that's just the new normal because I'm training harder. And then it wasn't until I was finally healthy again, I was like, wait a second, that's not normal what I was feeling. So yeah.
And don't you naturally too, when that happens, Jacquelin, I always compare it, and I'll go back to it all the time, but I compare it to like a little child who broke their leg and has a cast all the way up to their hip. And you see them still scooting around the room to play with their siblings. And you feel bad for them, but the child just naturally presses on. That's their normal. Right. They want to play. And so that's how we are too. And whatever my normal is, I'm dealing with it. You know, it's getting harder, but I'm chalking that up, not to Crohn's, but because my normal is adjusting and I got to work harder or I got to make changes.
Yeah, no, I just was like, there was nothing I could do. I got used to it and I just continued on. I didn't know anything else. So yeah, 2009 was my beginning into biologics. And then 2 years later, I had a little flare, or the following year, I had a tiny flare, no big deal. And we would have a random minor flare, get it back under control with steroid infusions. And then I went away to I'm from the DC area, and I went to the College of Charleston. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina for undergrad. And freshman into sophomore year, I was experiencing horrible hives to the point where they would blister and bleed. And my uncle is a dermatologist, and he started doing research if potentially it could be the Remicade. And he found out that was possible. He said, it's the Remicade. If you don't get off of it, your skin's going to start eating away at itself. Like it already was. I was miserable. So I think it was my sophomore year, we switched to Humira, which worked well. Again, minor flares here and there.
Can you explain just real quick what the difference is in Humira and your Remicade in regards to the infusion or injection?
Yeah, so the Remicade was a 4-hour infusion I did it every 6 weeks. And then the Humira was an injection every 2 weeks, which I liked better because I didn't have to go sit for infusions,
4 hours,
obviously.
Right.
And I grew up, actually, I was diagnosed with idiopathic growth hormone deficiency when I was younger. So for 5 years of my life, I was on growth hormone shots 6 days a week for 5 years. So I wasn't new to being on shots and injections and things like that. So, you know, giving myself a shot was like, okay, I've done that before. So I liked those. And then a few years later, we changed it to every week because of a flare that I had. And they were like, all right, let's increase. And then in 2017, I turned pro as a figure skater and moved to Tampa, Florida to perform as a professional figure skater in the Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay ice shows. So I did that for 16 months until January of last year. But in the beginning of 2018, I started to feel really, really sick. And it was like a slow progression. It took a few months for me to get a GI, which, you know, big mistake. I should have found a GI as soon as I moved. But
you were busy.
Yeah, I mean, I was living life. I mean, I was thriving for like the first time. I was living my dream, and
on a buzz,
I had a new boyfriend, and I was just like, it was so much fun. So it was in the back of my mind. But then I started getting really sick, and it was a slow progression, getting worse. So, and again, I was still on the Humira. And toward the end of the summer, it started to get worse quickly. And I finally had a colonoscopy. And after the colonoscopy, everything just got terrible. It was almost as if the colonoscopy had exacerbated everything to the point that like over a weekend, it got worse. And so I remember like in August of 2018, I like woke up in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m. throwing up. And I was like, I have to go to the hospital. And so I went into the hospital. And
that night? Or did you wait till the morning? You did?
No, I was miserable. mean, I lived alone. Well, I had a roommate, but she was staying with her boyfriend, and no family around. So my grandma flew down actually for my colonoscopy because my mom was moving my sister out of college. But she left the morning before I woke up the next morning at 4 a.m. And I lived a mile away from the hospital, but I was like, I'm not going to call an ambulance and waste an I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So I called my boyfriend at like 4 a.m. and he lived 30 minutes away, and he drove to me to take me to the hospital. Or my ex, but we determined that the Humira was no longer working, even though we did antibody tests and I didn't build up any antibodies. I stopped reacting to it. So we put me on Entyvio and Stelara together because my doctor was like, we can always take Stelara off and add it back later.
Yeah.
Versus Entyvio. So I went on Entyvio. Great, more injections, not a problem. No, it was infusions, but it was a 30-minute infusion. No big deal. Every 8 weeks. And then March of this year, I started to flare. And I thought, oh, it's the pandemic. Oh, the following month I was laid off from work. I was like, I'm stressed. I'm in undergrad. I'm in grad school. So I was like, I'm stressed with that and everything. And I just figured.
Which is all totally possible.
Which we thought. I talked to my GI and she's like, it's very possible. I mean, let's get blood work. I want you to do a colonoscopy, but let's assume that it's just, we're all really stressed out. And I was like, that's probably what it is. So I got a colonoscopy in June and she came back to me and she said, you are having severe active Crohn's. You have horrible ulcers. I'm not sure it's not cancer. That was a terrifying 36 hours before I found out that it wasn't cancer. And she was like, but it's not good in there. And she was like, I'm not so convinced that the Entyvio is working anymore. I continued it for 2 more rounds, but she was like, I'm really not convinced. And she was like, we got to try something else.
Yeah.
So we tried Stelara, and that took a while to get approved through insurance, of course, because why would it be easy?
And we're in COVID.
They're just like, I feel like my insurance, every time they get an update from me, they're like, oh, this chick again, Jesus, her again.
Right.
But so we tried Stelara, and I again wasn't responding. She put me on methotrexate because for the very first time I was also having arthritic symptoms. I'm still on methotrexate, but after a few of the Stelara injections, she was like, I'm not convinced that's working either. So before we decided to end the Stelara and try a new med that I'm starting next week, I was getting really worse fast. I mean, each month was worse. And then I would have like a random good week and I was like, oh, I'm getting better. Yeah. And I kept trying to hold off.
Don't you hate that? God.
Yeah, because I knew my doctor had mentioned like, surgery might be something that we should talk about. And I was like, no, I'm going to get better. The medicine's going to work. I don't need surgery. Yeah. That's not me. I'm an athlete. I'm active. I'm not going to have surgery. I've never had to have surgery. I've been in flares always, and it's always gotten better.
Yeah.
The change of medicine or an update of medicine, whatever. I was like, that's not going to happen. So I was like, push it out of my mind. And then I would continue to get worse. And then I started thinking, this might actually be a real possibility that I might have to have surgery.
Yeah.
But then I would feel better for a week or two. And they're like, no, we're out of the woods. And I remember, I think it was maybe like six weeks ago, maybe. I had maybe 7 at this point. Time. I talked to my doctor and I was like, I'm feeling really good. And I was like, I'm thinking that we're really out of the woods with surgery. And 3 days after that, I just declined.
Yeah.
Rapidly. And it was getting worse. And so a week later, I remember, after all summer of saying to my family, like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. I'm done, I can't do this anymore. My mom and I exchanged a look and I was like, I cannot do this anymore. And we both knew, like, in that moment, I decided I'm going to have an ileostomy surgery. I need a colon rest. I can't handle this pain anymore.
Yeah.
And
was that hard to internalize and accept?
Yes and no. No, because I was in so much pain. I just couldn't handle it
Yeah,
anymore.
and you'll take
I
anything for relief, right?
anything. I hadn't been on the ice, which the ice is my favorite place in the world.
Yeah.
I haven't been to work. I love my job. Not that would be seeing a lot of friends anyway, but there's a few that like I know I could see, and I haven't even seen my friends. I mean, I live in Tampa, but I've been living in Boca del Rey, Florida for months now because my family lives over here. So I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. I need to do it. So it was hard in the sense of, I wish we didn't get here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also like
really me now here, really.
But my main focus the whole time going into surgery was, I'm just ready to be out of pain. I'm just ready to be out of pain. I wasn't thinking about the life change or the struggles or the possibility of leaks and all these things. I was just like, my focus now is getting out of pain. I will worry about everything else later.
Yeah.
So we made the appointment. It was originally, I was going to have surgery on September 15th. But I remember the week before we rescheduled it to the 8th, I was like, if we don't reschedule it, I was like, I'm going to perforate. Yeah. I wholeheartedly believed that if I waited any longer that I was going to perforate. Maybe, ulcers were going to mutate into something horrible. I was like, I can't put myself in a position where, like, right now I have control over this. Right now I'm in control of making this decision. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm forced into this. I'm forced into a permanent, ileostomy, something horrible happening where, are the odds with me if I'm going to keep this temporary? No, not really.
Yeah, how bad do you want it to get?
But I was like, I want to keep control over this while I can.
Yeah, which is so smart. And I have to commend you for that because, like, me and so many other people, Jacquelin, put off our surgery for so long as like a total last resort. And whether it was your dad and having the common illness in your family and just that openness and that it is possible and livable, I don't know, but like I put it off for so long. So dude, bravo for thinking that so quickly.
I was not willing to wait any longer. I mean, I was putting it off. The only thing I regret is like, oh, I should have done this sooner because I would have been, that much more healed by now.
Right.
But which I knew I was going to probably have that reaction, which was so weird because I went into it so positive. Everyone, I mean, my family knows I'm strong. My family friends know I'm strong. My mom's best friends know I'm strong. I know I'm strong. But everyone's just been like, not shocked, but surprised at how well I was handling it prior to surgery. I remember my uncle being like, you seem so calm and so researched and so ready and so focused. And I was like, I am. Yeah. And he was like, are you nervous? And I was like, again, my only concern right now is being out of pain. Yeah. That was it. That was all I was thinking about. I was like, I will worry about the statistics of it possibly being permanent, of, a reversal not working. I'll think about those things when it's time. I want to be out of pain. I want to be back on the ice. I want to be back to work. And those were the only things I was thinking about. And so even like the night before surgery, I was nervous, but I was like, let's go. I was still so sick. And I remember the morning of surgery, my surgery was delayed 4.5 hours. And I was in the hospital for 7.5 hours waiting alone in horrible pain, nausea, anxiety, everything. And they couldn't give me anything because I had to be coherent when I was wheeled into surgery. And I will say everything I've been through, those 7.5 hours have been the hardest and worst of my entire life.
Wow. Not
even recovering from surgery, not even mentally going surgery, those 7.5 hours prior to. And I remember when the surgeons finally came to get me, I had a smile on my face. I was like, let's go. I was like, I'm ready. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
I was like,
it's about
no
time,
one would be
really.
excited to have this, but I was like, I'm done feeling miserable. Cut me, laparoscopic, but I was like, go in there and do this now. So I had like a smile on my face being wheeled into surgery, and they were like, I'm like, you have no idea.
Did you feel well prepared from the nurses and your doctors in preparing you for, the placement and all that kind of stuff? Any conversations about what you're going to be experiencing?
I felt so prepared. I'm on a Facebook group called Lifestyle Ostomy Athletes, a little plug there, for those who have ostomies who either are athletes, were athletes and are trying to become athletes again, or those who either did exercise prior to or didn't and want to get back into it. And so I was asking lots of questions through there, and I actually met a couple figure skaters who have ostomies.
Oh, dope. That's awesome.
So that was really great. And I'm putting quote unquote my boss, one of my bosses, she is a good friend of mine. She has an ostomy as well. So even before I got really, really, really sick, we had bonded too.
Wow.
And so, especially with my dad, I knew a lot about ostomies already.
Yeah, you're so
and knew
fortunate.
that they didn't really need, right, unfortunate, but fortunate in that sense of, that sucks that that's something that's in my family, but fortunate that I was able to have all these resources to feel really prepared.
Yeah, you bet.
And I remember the week before surgery, I was talking to my mom and I was like, hey mom, like, I don't really know if this is the right word or the right feeling, but I'm almost excited. And I was like, I'm just excited to be out of pain. And then I also said to her, I was like, I just don't think it's going to be as bad as anyone thinks it's going to be. It's like, I just don't think it's going to be that bad. And so I kind of went into it thinking, I'm going to be out of pain and I get to be back on the ice. I have all my limbs. Like, there's nothing that I can't do. So how terrible can this be if I'm not in pain anymore?
It all makes sense when you think about it like that. I mean,
when you break it down like that, and if I want people to know I have it, I can, which clearly I, do. It empowers me, and I want to help others, like people who have helped me through, the Instagram sphere as well. But I was like, if I don't want people to know I have it, I can hide it. I went to my post-op appointment today, and my nurse brought me to my room and she was like, wait a second, you have an ostomy? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I had no idea. And I was like, that's the goal.
Oh, that's right. It worked.
I was like, it worked because I live in athletic clothing and like crop tops and high-waisted leggings and things like that. I was like, it's working.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's where I am now. I got approved to get back on the ice and small workouts again. And I could not be more excited.
So how was post-op? How was the wounds from the laparoscopy? Did you have any problems with that? Were any of them close to your stoma? How was your initial bag change?
Yeah, I definitely was. I was only in the hospital 2 days, which when they said I could go home, I was like, no, I'm not ready. I was like, no.
I want to stay here.
I'm like, I'm still sore. Like, I'm still on oxy. Please keep me.
Yeah. I don't want to go home alone.
But I also I wasn't ready to look at my stoma. I was really afraid of that. Because who really wants something sticking out of their stomach like that? I always refer to it as like that scene from Alien where the aliens going through the body, and that scene in Prometheus as well, the sequel. Or the prequel. I think it's prequel. But so I was really scared, and I remember I looked at it accidentally because my hospital gown I didn't realize had a pocket, but there was a rip in the pocket. So I was like, oh shoot, there it goes. And that was the Band-Aid coming off.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky that I got to have home health assist with the first bag change.
Yeah.
After hospital.
So you got to leave the hospital without having to change your bag yet?
So I met with a stoma nurse in the hospital the day that I left, and we went through everything. And I was like, I pretty much know how to do all this, but let's walk me through it because I've never done it. So she did it for me. She was like, are you okay? And I remember I cried before we started. I was like, I need just to be ready. And so I was ready, and I had some tears while we were doing it, but I was focused. I was like, take away the fear of the stoma, take away everything. I was like, I need to watch what we're doing right now. So I just got in a zone. I was like, okay, let me learn. So we did it.
Where's the emotion coming from? What do you think the emotion was coming from? Just having it?
Having it. And no one wants it.
Right.
And in not holding anything back and in pure honesty and vulnerability, nobody wants it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all would love to be able to be in remission without these things and keep our intestines, right? Why not?
Oh, yeah.
Why wouldn't we? Not that this isn't a life worth living as well, but.
Right. And you've got a stranger there for this incredibly vulnerable moment that you're experiencing for the first time.
I think since just being in the GI world since 14 and having so many doctors and different people in that area of my body, I just got over it really quickly. I was just like, eh. And with my family being very Crohn's and IBD-esque, I was like, we were just, that didn't bother me anymore. I'm so open about that.
When you're constantly going to the doctor, and doctors anymore, they have students who follow them around, and they're like, do you care if the doctor has so-and-so coming with them? Do you mind if he has 2 students come in? And you're like laying there with the gown on or whatever. And yep, fine, send them in. You do that since you're a kid. It's like nothing.
Right. So in a way, I was kind of blessed to have it young because it matured me and grew me quickly and gave me a different appreciation for life at a young age. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, that first bag change was just like very focused. And then she's like, okay, well, we send you home with the translucent bags. And I was like, no, I don't want those. I was like, don't. And she was like, okay. She's like, typically we don't with the opaque, but let me go see if we have some opaque bags to send you home with. And she found 6. And I was like, thank you so much. I was like, I don't want to go home with these bags.
Yes. It's the worst, isn't it?
It's gross. I couldn't. I was like, I can't. I couldn't do it. So she found me the opaque bags, and I was like, thank you so much for like giving me an exception, because I was just like, I can't. So I came home and I was still really sore. For a good week and a half, I was still like, I remember that first night, I never wake up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. And that first night I woke up 4 times to use the restroom. And getting out of bed, I would just like roll myself out of bed because I couldn't sit up. And I was like, I don't want to disturb my mom 4 times throughout the night to help me. Like that, no. Like if I'm going to have trouble sleeping, let me be the only one so she can take care of me. She needs energy to help me.
That's right.
So that first night was really hard. And I was sore for quite a while. And then like all the gas buildup coming to my shoulders and like the indigestion I was still having, it was just terrible. But being able to eat the things that like I hadn't been eating for so long.
Could you tell a difference after your surgery? Those 7 hours before you said were really some of your hardest hours. Could you tell besides the trauma from the surgery, maybe a couple of days later, could you tell a difference in how you felt, or any kind of relief?
Yes. As soon as I woke up.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's go.
This is a little better. I can do this.
Yeah. And I remember like my first walk around the hospital, I was just like on a roll, and I was just so happy to be walking and no pain and not have to worry about after eating and standing up and gravity working and my digestive system starting to work and get groggy and angry again. I was like, oh my God, actually to go back, I remember I was texting a friend, and I was like, a friend who actually happens to have Crohn's that I met in college. And I was like, the fact that I can sit here and eat and have no chronic pain.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never been happier. And she was like, I'm crying for you. I'm so happy for you. And I was like, it's the little things. Like I can eat these things and I'm not in pain. And it was just an immediate gratification, basically.
You totally forget what it's like to even have a healthy gut, to have normal feelings of digestion in some way, right?
In some way, right. In some way, the body's still like, what's going on?
Right.
I remember I would have these, in my mind, I would have these fake conversations between my small and large intestine, where the small intestine says to the large intestine, you're on vacation, keep your work phone at home, relax, you've got nothing to do.
That's awesome.
We'll take it from here.
A little rest. Just take a little rest.
And we'll invite you back when you're needed.
So what did you think of your first, not of your first change, but what did you think of having output in a bag, and now you're experiencing this through your stoma, through the alien? Was it just kind of, it is gross in the clear bags. That is, it's unbelievable. I can't believe, I understand why they do it. But
it's terrible.
One of the so I've started these ostomy, these OG bags for new patients that are going to have a bag cover or 2 in them for new patients, so that when they leave the hospital, not only do they have like all the links to hook up with our ostomy community online and stuff, but they got a cover for that stupid transparent bag that they all have to freaking leave the hospital with.
I was so lucky that I didn't.
Why would you do that?
Oh God, I get it, but it was just, I mean, in the easiest, the nicest way to say it, like it's gross. It's excrement. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But I was just like, my first time emptying, and I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Did it. Like,
and
it is what it is. I mean, I made this decision. I don't regret it. I feel better. Like, this, it is what it is. It's just,
you just deal
it's
with
like,
it, right?
you just deal with it. It's like having a new appendage on your body. It's just something else to deal with. Is it annoying sometimes? Yeah. Especially like the other day, no matter how hard I tried, I could not get all the gas out of it. And I was just like, this is pissing me off. And I was just like, is it annoying? Yeah. And am I going to get used to it? Yeah. So I was just like, let's go. Here we go. Yeah. This is the beginning.
And life was hard before, right? It was harder before. And so there is a little exchange, but I mean, what you got is way better than what you were dealing with.
Oh my God. I mean, again, like I said, I still don't regret it of making the decision. And I'm still so happy I made the decision for myself. And like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish what you were going to say.
Oh, I was just like, right now it's temporary. Whether it stays temporary or not, we'll worry about that later. Yeah. But right now it's temporary. Right now it's my decision. Right now I have the control. What more could I ask for?
Right. Yeah. So how are you doing with changing the appliance? I mean, you're 3 weeks in. How are you doing with that? And
so
are you cutting the size? Where are you at?
So I have a story. Last Thursday was going to be my first unsupervised, no nurse, no mom, like a bag wafer change. Yeah. And I was like, let's go. I had the office on my iPad set up just to, distract me. I was like, we're going to do this. It's going to be easy. And I took everything off and I saw blood and like around the stoma. And I didn't know that was normal. Nobody warned me. Not only did I freak out, I had a vasovagal reaction and I passed out. Now, thankfully, I called my mom in there before I passed out. I've never passed out before. I've been through the process of passing out, but I've never actually passed out. But I could feel it coming on. I sat down on my toilet. I was like, Mom, I'm passing out. She goes, no, you're not. Yeah, you're not. You're fine. And bam, out. She's like holding me. Apparently, I'm shaking. She's like trying to talk to me. I come to. I throw up. And I'm texting a friend that I met. She's a figure skater. She happens to be from the DC area as well. I've never met her, but small world. She's actually a nurse as well. And I'm like, are you awake? She's like, I'm awake. What's up? I was like, FaceTime me. I need help. And because she's a nurse and an ostomy. So I was like, this is the person I need to talk to. And she's like, what's going on? I was like, there's blood. I just passed out. I don't know. Like, is it normal? And I'm like showing her my stoma. And she's like, you're fine. It's normal. My mom's sitting there researching. It's normal. She's like, your father's had blood. It's like, it's normal. And I'm like, I was like, I've been doing so well. I've been healing. I'm going backward. It's going to rip out of my skin. I'm going to really be that scene from the movie. I was like, lost it. Horrible, traumatic night.
And you really don't know what to do because it's the way that the stoma itself is that it's kind of like the gums. When it bleeds, it bleeds a lot. And you sometimes you're kind of like, oh my goodness, is this ever going to stop? How bad is this? And you just you dab it, you clean it, you're like, oh, is my appliance going to stick? What in the heck's going on?
Right. What is happening? Am I okay? Do I need to go to the ER? Is it ripping out of my skin? What's happening?
Yeah.
So.
And it's a game changer just having one person go, that's normal. And you're kind of like, okay.
It just takes every, you're like, okay, I'm not dying. Okay.
That's right.
And by the time I came to, it was not bleeding anymore. I mean, there was still some blood, but it was not, really
mild. Yeah.
And so I was like, that sucked. So I finished the change and I was nauseous and I was like, I need crackers. And I didn't want to get in bed yet. And I was up until 3 a.m. with my mom watching TV because I was just not ready to call it a night. I took a trazodone to be able to sleep because I was just like, I'm so anxious right now. So I texted my nurse the next day. I was like, can you come for my next bag change? Because she was getting ready to discharge me from home health.
Yeah.
She's like, you're doing great. You're healing. You're fine. You're focused. You're ready. Like, you have such a strong head. You're good. I was like, can you come on yesterday for my next bag change? And so she came and there was a little blood, thankfully, because I wanted her to be able to see it if there was. And she's like, it's fine. It's just you either, some of the stitching glue may have come off of it. Your wafer may have cut into it a little too much. She was like, it's fine. And I did the change and she was like, there's 3 things you look at is how much blood, the color of the blood, and if it stops or not. She's like, you're fine. I was like, okay, I'm good.
So many people, Jacquelin, don't have somebody, either they don't have the home health care that are following them along that journey, or they really don't have anyone close to them that has one. And so there's a huge struggle for people who get out of the hospital, go home, and are figuring all this stuff out on their own, and they don't know who to call, and they're just winging it, and they just become recluses to their house because they're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I don't know how to fix this or who to call. So awesome.
Yeah,
man.
no, I'm definitely lucky. I remember it was like midnight and I was like, I want to call Dad, and my mom was like, you're not. My parents are divorced. He still lives in Maryland, and she's like, you're not calling Dad. It's normal. Like, it's midnight. He's asleep. You're not going to freak him out. Like, you're okay. You're not calling Dad. And so the next day I was like, Dad, I wanted to call you. He's like, you could have called me. And I was like, Mom told me not to. She didn't want to freak you out. And he was like, but it's normal. I still get it sometimes. And I was like, okay. I'm okay.
That's awesome. How many changes have you had in the 3 weeks since you had your surgery?
Okay. Well, because I'm not very active right now, I'm not sweating, I'm not working out, obviously. I'm trying to keep it to more 5 days because I have really sensitive skin. They say the less that you do, the better for your skin. So let's see. I did the one in the hospital.
What product are you using?
Right now, Hollister.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I'm going to be requesting samples of different bags and trying to figure out what works best for me. But right now I'm on Hollister while I just get used to everything. Which is working great for me. But we did the one at the hospital, the first one with my home health nurse, the second one where I did it all and she assisted. Then last Thursday was 4, and then yesterday was 5. So I guess 5.
Okay. So are you doing cut to fit? Are you having to cut it?
Right now I'm doing cut to fit, And especially I cut it a little larger last night in the area where there's blood so it doesn't nick it. So eventually I'll, have my stoma down to a size that it'll be. If they say it's still shrinking, I was like, okay, smaller the better. So I'm still cutting to fit. But I'm familiar with my stoma. I've named it.
What'd you name it?
So I didn't really know what I wanted to name it. And one of my friends, she's just, as a joke, she was like, you should name it Stormy, like Kylie Jenner's daughter. And I was like, that's actually hilarious, Stormy the Stoma. But then someone else recommended Stormy, but with a Y, and her reason was like, well, Stormy, because you've been through a storm. And I was like, you know what? I kind of really like that, Stormy the Stoma, because there's a hilarious meaning behind it. And then also like the meaningful meaning behind it. So it's Stormy, and I love explaining it because I just think it's hilarious.
That's awesome. I've had mine for 15 years, maybe somewhere around there, and I have never named it. I don't know why. I just haven't. It's just, that's one of the first things I get asked from people in like emails and stuff. And I just never did. I didn't have a cool name like Stormy. I mean, if I'd have come up with something cool like that. And of course, there's always like mini-me, but.
No, there's so many people I read about that named theirs, and I was like, why not? And I never like looked down, and I'm just like, Stormy, calm down. Like, it was active last night. I was like, can you calm down? Like, I didn't use its name, but I just think it's funny to have. Then one of my friends actually, she recommended the name Poo E Vuitton, like Louis Vuitton. Now for the name of the stoma, and I was like, no, that's perfect for the bags. Like, hang on, gotta go change my Poo E Vuitton real quick. So my bags are called Poo E Vuitton, which is great because I love Louis Vuitton. It's my favorite accessory brand, even though I can't really afford it. But
you need to do like a mock sketch of a design for your Poo E Vuitton.
Like Louis a bag Vuitton cover.
Yes.
No, trust me, I'm going to be looking for them. And I'm the type of person that I cope with things with humor. For me, I remember I was bullied when I was younger. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? Like, if people are going to be laughing at me or with me, like, as long as I have people laughing, no matter for what reason, they're laughing. So humor has just become my coping mechanism. Because if I have people laughing and I'm laughing, then like, who cares why? And and it's okay too, as positive and up as people feel you are, you also have down days, and you have days where you struggle, and it's the good habits that you establish, during your good days
that help you kind of get through those bad days. But how have you been able to parlay what you're learning in school and in regards to sports psychology, and also the struggle here, and what you also, I'd say, even what you've learned in the discipline of figure skating, and being able to master that sport is unbelievable. So that discipline and the anxiety you deal with over there is very relative here. Have you seen that, and in what ways?
For sure. I mean, you know, figure skaters are literally the personification of the saying, you fall down, you get back up. Yeah. Because we literally fall down and we have no choice to get back up. In practice, in competition. Yeah. I'm very used to it. It's, you know, I grew up with bruises randomly all around my body, and it was just like, oh, man, another fall.
You do a lot of rollerblading, or are there skating rinks that you always went to and had like memberships to or whatever since you were young?
There were always skating rinks. There was a ton in my area growing up. There's a ton in Florida, which people are shocked to know. And I'm like, Florida's a great place to train. So is California. Like, you wouldn't think, but people are like, how is there ice? And I'm just like, because it's indoors. Like, actually in Sun Valley, Idaho, their outdoor rink is a year-round rink. And I remember I went once, and it was like the heat of July, and I was skating outside. It was glorious. That's awesome. It was my bucket list rink. So being able to go was like, but anyway, I mean, in skating, it's the struggle. You know, you fall all the time, but you just get right back up. You keep trying. I never gave up. You know, in competitions, when you fall and you're just like, oh, I want to start over, but you don't have a choice, and you just have to continue your program and finish, because you literally don't. You can't. What do you do? Get off the ice, and then you're out of the competition. Like, you don't have a choice, right? So I feel like, in that sense of, you know, being disciplined, being focused, and just continuing to go because there is no other choice, that has helped me with, you know, my diagnosis. I mean, I've definitely had moments with suicidal ideation when I'm out of remission, where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. Yeah. You know, another month of this pain, I can't. And I've always, you know, I've had those feelings of, I don't want to die, but I don't want to live. Yeah. I think is like the best way to put it. I've had those feelings this year. I mean, in the past few months. Yeah. And I'm not, ashamed to admit that, because I know there's tons of people that have felt that way and either can't put words to it, but do. And I'm very vulnerable. My family knows that I felt that way. You know, life is worth living, but when you're in the pit of it, you feel like it's not. Yeah. And I think I just also having like the love for skating, like I knew irrationally, I was like, what if I could never skate again? And having those down days of like, I'm never going to be able to skate again. Even this arthritis is never going to go away. But knowing rationally, okay, that's not going to happen. Right. That still existed. The rational side of my brain was still there. Even though it was being silenced, it existed and it persisted. And I think that once I made the decision to have the surgery, I just became really focused. And you know, one of the mental skills that we study a lot in my program is visualization. And, you know, when you're in a sport and before you are in your setting of anxiety and anxiousness and your nerves, you visualize how you want your game to go, or what you want to see when you're out there, or what you want to feel when you're out there. And so I visualize what I want to do on the ice and getting back to that. With a stoma, with an ostomy bag. I visualize going back to work and how I'm going to handle that, and visualize, okay, well, this is how I'm going to handle going to the bathroom there. And it's also a way of goal setting, which is, you know, a really important aspect for sports psychology as well, is setting little goals and SMART goals. You know, S is specific, M is measurable, A is attainable, R is realistic, and T is timely. And you want to make sure that you're specific about your goals. You're able to measure the steps it's going to take to get there, and measuring like, did I attain this goal, or where am I? A, is it attainable? Is it something that it kind of blends with realistic? Is it something that like is real? Are you setting a goal that's too long term and you need some short term steps to get there? Is it realistic? Is it something that, like, if I'm like, I'm going to go to the Olympics, the next Olympics, okay, well, that's not obviously realistic. Like that, you know, it's never going to happen. And then timely, like, what's your time frame? Is this something that for short term you can attain in short term? Is this long term?
Yeah.
Is this something that you need to plan? And so creating those little goals for myself, which I think I want to do on paper instead of just keeping it in my mind. I think it'll be nice to write it down.
Yeah,
because I started to think about the fact that like I've been nervous, like what if I can't get back to where I was before? What if I can't get my abs strong enough to what it was before? And then I think I've been off the ice for injury before and I came back.
Yeah.
I was the best skater I was after college than I was all growing up skating. I was the best skater 2 years ago when I was still performing than I had ever been. I was like, and I've come back from broken bones and horrible bruising and throwing out my back. I was like, well, how is this any different?
Right.
So thinking of it in a different way is also, you know, a sense of visualization. And so I'm just using the things that I would tell other people. You know, it's a lot harder to like coach yourself. But I try
we
and
have
tell
all the
myself,
advice for everybody else, right?
everyone else. So I'm trying to apply what I would say to someone else in my exact position to myself. And just trying to take it day by day, because if I think too far out, then it's going to stress me out more.
Yeah, dude, and that's no bueno for us.
No, we don't need stress. Definitely our bodies don't need stress. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying just to stay as positive as possible, letting myself have bad days if they're going to come, because again, this is hard. I'm not, you know, I sound so positive, but I'm not, you know, naive to the fact that it's not easy.
Right.
And I'm never going to say that it's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to get easier, and it's going to become more habitual, and I'll be able to do like the changes and things without even thinking about it. But it's still, no one would choose this life for themselves.
Right.
In the perfect world.
Right. You accept it, you deal with it. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't go, you know what? I think it'd be kind of cool to have an ostomy bag right there. That sounds just marvelous. Right,
exactly. And also, I have to say, I feel kind of badass. Like, I've read stories about people having to like, I do. People talk about having to like rebuild their confidence and looking in the mirror and having to relearn to love their bodies. And I look in the mirror and I'm like, first of all, I'm thinner. I feel great about that. I've been wanting to lose weight anyway. But I look at the mirror and I just look at my body and I'm like, I am so badass.
Yeah.
And that happened quick. It wasn't something that I needed to work toward. I looked in the mirror and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
Do I wish I didn't have to wear high-waisted bikinis? Yeah, probably. I'm not a big fan of those. I bought a ton. I look great, but you know, that's, you know, whatever. I like low-rise stuff too, but it is what it is, and I'm not in pain. So what's changing my wardrobe a bit too? Nothing.
That's exactly right. And
I get the shock.
And everybody who has ever found out who I had to explain my problems to, and you're probably the exact same way, is that's what they think after you tell them what you've been through. No different than when I hear the story of one of my friends or somebody that has gone through something unbelievable, and you're like, you don't look down on them. You're like, you're a soldier. What? That's amazing. Yeah. And so that's exactly right. And it's also a really good filter, like for dating and all that kind of stuff. Having an ostomy, it's an incredible filter, because if the guys and the girls that are not a right pick won't waste their time with you. You'll know pretty quick. And if you could not be offended, then let them go.
Yeah. Right. I know. I someone said that exact same thing, that it's a good filter. It's a good way to know like who's worth it and who isn't. Yeah. And I feel like because I'm really good at concealing it, like once I do say that, they're gonna be like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
But you don't, and like,
right.
Yes, it is what it is.
Do you know what the timeline is on getting it on a reversal, or is it indefinite, or what's the plan?
It's pretty much indefinite. I know that minimum I have to have it for 3 months. Then after 3 months, we're going to start, you know, really looking into doing like another flex sig, more imaging, blood tests, and just, I'm about to start Cimzia. I'm just hoping that the Cimzia works. And just kind of make the best decision based on the information we're able to get without, you know, obviously being able to do like a full colonoscopy.
Yeah.
So we're going to reassess in 3 months. And if we need to wait a little longer, if we're ready to go. I mean, it's always going to be taking a chance though, because it's like, okay, well, how are we going to know if it's the Cimzia that's working or the colon rest that did it? How are we going to know that it's not both? How are we going to know it's one or the other? I'm never going to know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of hoping for the best. You know, my surgeon,
right.
you know, my doctor and my surgeon don't work for the same health group, because my GI is in Tampa, and then I did the surgery through Cleveland Clinic in Florida.
Yeah.
So it was a team. And my surgeon was like, well, this isn't typically how I treat Crohn's. Like, typically I would take the colon. And I was like, I understand. I know the statistics behind it, but I want to try this, because at the end of the day, it's laparoscopic. Like, yes, it's still abdominal surgery. It's still intestinal surgery. But at the end of the day, it's really not that invasive. And why not at least give it a shot? Because I just didn't feel like I was at that point yet where we needed to take the colon.
Well, yeah.
Whether we really did or did, I don't know. I wanted to give it a shot. And so he corresponded with my GI, and they were like, it was just like, if your surgeon's willing to do it, I don't have a problem with it. They corresponded. They were like, all right, let's try, let's do it. I'm lucky I had a surgeon that was willing to do it. And yeah, we're just kind of have to keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. You know, I hope that I don't have to have this forever, but it's not a death sentence if I do.
Right.
It's still a life worth living. Again, I like to think of it, I have all my limbs. I get to be on the ice again. If I want to perform again, I can.
Yeah.
There's smaller bags, and I can be in those tiny costumes if I need to be.
And life was terrible before.
And life was
terrible now.
Before, and it's not terrible now.
Like, that's the one thing that I always have to remind because you're going to run into days where you're going to have Crohn's symptoms, and you're going to have leaks and skin issues, and and maybe it's lasting a week or 2 or 3, and you're like, really? Holy crap! Now I've got an ostomy and all these and my Crohn's,
right?
And it's like, and that's going to happen. But it's like,
I know.
If you can get over those and keep your mind right, just keep stomping on down the road.
I know. I'm dreading my first leak. Dreading it. I'm so meticulous about my bag changes. It's not even funny. Or like, I don't let my bag get that full. Or like, I don't lie flat when I sleep, because I'm dreading it. And I know it's not rational to think that I want to be the first ostomy person to not ever have a leak. Not possible. But I'm dreading it.
Don't think that your leak's going to be somewhere big time. If and when it happens. No, I'm here to tell you that mindset. I think this way, like, vanity and pride had me taking really good care of my ostomy. And that also allowed me to have very clean area. I got great wear times. I was meticulous, like you said, about making sure I'm pressing on it for long periods of time after I put it on. I'm making
I
sure
use the extra like the half moons. What are they called? The
barrier things.
Yes, I'm using everything, like the putty, the extra tape, like sticking it on there.
Have you ever heard of the Secure Press by Stomagini?
No, I need a notepad.
Yes, get a notepad. You got to check this out. I wish I had it down here. I need to order another one so I have a display model.
Are there sticky notes? Yes, there's sticky notes. What's it called again?
It's called a Secure Press, and it's spelled just like it sounds.
By Stomagini?
By Stomagini. And Stomagini is another product which you measure your stoma. They usually, I don't know if they have a timeline or whatever, but you measure your stoma and they'll send you, the product is, and they're not expensive, but it's this little deal that basically, think of a whiskey barrel, or like a big whiskey barrel, but it's small in the size of your stoma. So you give them your size, and basically you put your flange on, the appliance, and then over that you put with a bag, just in case you have output, you put that on the inside of your ring, so it presses down all the way around the stoma on the part that goes on the skin right there. And so you can hold that down really nice and strong when you're using it. It's so good. I get like an extra, I want to say 24 to 48 hours just by using that. If I don't use it, I'll lose a day.
Interesting. I'll definitely take a look at that, especially when I'm getting back to exercising and sweating and having to probably change more.
Yeah.
For sure. But right now it's I'm again very, very, very meticulous about it. Very afraid.
It happens, and it's never fun. And those are the times when you can really get down on yourself.
Yeah.
And the sooner you can go, like you always do, and you've done 100 times before, shit, damn it, fine. I'll deal with it, and I'm going to deal with it as happy as I can. There's nothing I can do about it. You just deal with it that way. You'll be safe.
Yeah. Literally, pun intended, shit happens.
Yes,
so,
it does.
If I can think of it that way, then I guess, I know it's inevitable. So it's like, I just hope it's an easy one.
Jacquelin, there's nothing grosser. And I have four children, okay? So I'm used to changing diapers. I don't like crap. I don't care whose it is. Even if it's my own, I don't like it. It's gross. One of the grossest things ever is when you have output and you're not ready for it and it lands on your frickin' toe. Whether you're fresh out of the shower, you're in the middle of swapping the appliance, and you just feel it go, and you're like, when you step in dog poop and it's on the underside, you get mad because it's like between your toes, it's in your shoes. But when it falls on them from the top and it's your own, and you got to I'm just like, oh, FML. What am I doing?
I'm still using gloves when I do bag changes or emptying my bag. I'm still wearing gloves because I'm just like, I refuse to get this on my fingers. I refuse.
And you don't have to like it.
I know. I don't need to. I know I'll get more used to it. But I've never changed a baby's poopy diaper before because I just can't. I've never been able to bring myself to it. And I'm like, if anything, this is just going to prepare me for having children.
Yeah, well, it will. And children's diapers, they get gross over time. Like, God's funny the way he set it all up. Like, you have 9 months to actually go, okay, fine, I think I can accept having a kid. And then, once it's here, it doesn't move much. It doesn't need much. It just needs some loving. And it doesn't take much responsibility. So you're like, okay, I think I can handle this. And when you got to change their diapers, it's not that bad. It's just not. It doesn't get really gross till they're older. Funny how that works, because by the time it all gets really a pain in the ass, you've fallen in love with the kid, and it doesn't matter what their problems are.
And then it doesn't, exactly. So I'm just like, if anything, well, first of all, the pain that I've experienced, I feel like is going to be nothing in comparison to labor pain. I can't imagine it being much more.
I want an update on that. Let me know. Keep me updated.
I know, right? I know. Who knows, right? There aren't many people that know both. But compared to what my CRP rates have been, my most recent was an 89.9. I've been in some really horrible pain, more than I thought any human could handle. So I feel like it cannot be as bad. Who knows? I've got some years ahead of me to figure that out. So I just feel like I'm really prepared for a lot of things that might come my way.
So in my situation, Jacquelin, one of the biggest things that I realized and learned about myself through my ostomy surgery, and this is in the short term soon after, was I didn't realize how insecure I was. I'm a pretty confident person, and I'm really confident. I could be arrogant, but at the same time, I didn't realize how insecure I was about. I can pose and be anything, I can present myself in any way, but deep down, I felt inadequate and insecure because of my ostomy, and that took a little bit of work and practice, and I needed loved ones around me to help me grow through that. What would you say is one of the, so far in this short period since you've gotten there, that you've learned about yourself through having ostomy surgery that you didn't know before?
I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was.
Yeah. How so?
I remember when it was the first time I realized that surgery might be something that I can't avoid, months before I made the decision. I said, I can't live like that. I can't live like that. That's not something I could do. I cannot live like that. I will not live like that. I cannot live like that. I can't.
Yeah.
And to be sitting here today and have this positive attitude, I mean, and going into it with such a positive attitude and coming out of it with such a positive attitude, and 3 weeks so quickly, I'm like, let's get back on the ice. I wore a crop top and high-waisted leggings today, like out in public.
Dude, you're a soldier.
I've realized, and I said this the very first week too, I am a lot stronger than I thought I was. I knew I was strong. I did not know I was this strong.
Yeah.
I didn't. And I think that when strong is your only option, then that's when your true strength does come out.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing I've learned about myself, is that I'm a lot stronger than I ever thought I was.
Where do you see think 5 years from now, where's Jacquelin?
Hopefully Colorado Springs, working for Team USA.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
I want to be happy and healthy. I don't know what that's going to look like, because obviously 2020 has shown that you have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring.
Crazy.
But I just hope that I'm happy and healthy.
Yeah.
That would be what I would want to see for myself.
Was there a time that isn't what you wanted? You wanted something other than that? Has that changed? Would you say that answer would have changed if I'd have asked you 10 months ago?
I don't think so. I think that happiness is a place that happiness isn't a physical place, it's a mindset. And I do suffer from anxiety and depression, and so being happy. I actually since 2014, since 2014, every 9 o'clock my phone says "Be happy." It's been doing it for years, and it was because, or maybe it was 2016, because I had a really rough breakup, and I put that reminder on my phone because I had to work toward being happy again. And happiness has always been something I want to be.
Yeah.
And then healthy, because there has been so many times throughout my life since 14 years old where I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
So, and I've typically only been in remission for 2 years at a time. So I don't think the answer would have changed in terms of like career and location and things like that, in terms of goals like that, maybe. Yeah. But happy and healthy is what I wish for myself.
Dude.
And everybody. I think we all deserve to be happy and healthy. Because
Really,
without that, there's nothing else that matters.
That's exactly right. And I'm a huge advocate in habits and creating regular habits and daily reminders. And one of the biggest things and best things that I could tell you to do is that in your bad days, share those with somebody. And that goes for any problem we're having. Like the more I no matter how bad that first leak day is and how you feel, you got to get over it, and you need to share that with somebody. You need to tell somebody and let that out, and then let them tell you, no, that's fine. And yeah, dude, you got to hear about my first time. And then you can smile with them. You can shine a little light on that darkness, and it won't weigh on you.
Yeah, I actually have, again, the skaters that I've been talking to have been really, really great for me in sharing, what happened last Thursday and like other things. And one of the girls said to me that she was emptying her bag and some of it got on her face. And I was like, okay, like that sucks. Yeah. Be pissed about it. What are you going to do after you're pissed about it? Like, I was like, be pissed, take a moment, be annoyed. Then what are you going to do to move on from it, is what I said to her.
Yeah.
Which, that's my psychology training.
Right.
But am I going to do that for myself? Probably not. Yeah. But I will rely on them. I will say, oh my God, I had my first leak. And then we'll talk about it and I'll move on.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Jacquelin, it has been awesome getting to know you. It's been awesome getting to hear your story. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you if they wanted to get on Instagram and follow you, or Facebook or whatever? And also, can you tell that team that you're on, Athletes with Ostomies or whatever? What's that?
Yeah, so it's a Facebook group called Lifestyle Ostomy Athletes. There's about maybe 2,000 people in it. It's a wonderful group. Everyone responds. You can write anything. You're going to get advice. It's amazing. I mean, just the ostomy community in any way, shape, or form is just unbelievable. So supportive of one another.
Yeah.
And then I'm on Instagram. My personal is Jacquelin Z93. I spell it like that Key and Peele skit. Jayquuelin Z93. And then I'm also on Instagram. My Crohn's page is courage_and_Crohn's, courage and Crohn's, which I'm trying to use to be an advocate for others, like others have been for me, just because of my helping nature. And I want everyone to eventually look out for my sports psychology Instagram once I graduate. Don't know when that's going to be because I had to take a quarter off, but look out if any of these listeners are athletes and need a sports psychologist in the future.
You're coming for them.
I'm coming for you.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's where people can find me. I post a lot of skating content, Crohn's content, and just funny videos of me being clumsy because I'm a very clumsy person. And some cool
skating videos, and I want to see. You need to post some fresh on your first couple of practices after surgery. Have someone video it and post it with some music like you've done before. It'll be super dope, and people will love it.
I know it's not going to be super exciting at first. It's just going to be me gliding and doing some crossovers at first, but
and that's something.
I know. I'm getting on the ice. I really want to go tomorrow, but I'm definitely going this weekend with a friend of mine, and I know I'm going to cry as soon as I get on the ice because it's just going to feel.
That's
Again,
so cool.
I could speak hours about how skating makes me feel. I don't think I would. No, I used to say I don't think I would survive by an ostomy. I know I would not survive if I could never skate again.
Yeah. Well.
It's my favorite.
That's a lot of pressure on your bones and muscles and body, man. Why would you put that stress on yourself, girl?
I'm going to skate until my body until I can't walk. I'm going to skate until I can't walk. If I have to have a special walker on the ice when I'm older, like I've seen some skaters, I will. I don't care. That's super cool. Yeah.
Jacquelin, thank you so much. This was awesome. And thank you everybody for listening. Please subscribe, follow, like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and check out the Ostomy Guy story, Memoirs of a Bagman. It's on Amazon, and I look forward to posting this. Hopefully it'll be out on World Ostomy Awareness Day, which is going to be October 3rd, hopefully this Saturday. So super dope.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you.
everything. I can't wait to hear it and keep chatting with you.